Hello everyone. In today's video, we are going to cover how to set up multi-tier web app with Python, Django, and PostgreSQL on Ubuntu 24 LTS. If you have been waiting to build a simple user authentication system with a Django and PostgreSQL, this is the perfect lab for you. If you are searching job for DevOps, cloud, platform, and SRE, you want to practice project on a Linux, then you can practice this lab. And you also have to add some projects in your resume. You should add this project as well. And if in your interviews you can say this project and explain this project as well. So before you start, ensure you have the following things in your system. First one is AWS account with the Ubuntu 24 EC2 instance. And in that EC2 instance, you have to install Django, Python 3, PostgreSQL with the latest version. And before performing this lab, you have the basic knowledge and of Python and Django. So before we jump into the step, let's talk about the tools we are using in this task. So our first tool is Python. So Python is the main language we are using in this project. It's easy to learn and powerful for web development. Python syntax is clean and easy to understand, so making it ideal for beginners as well as experienced web developers. Python is the primary language used for writing a Django application. Since Django is a Python web-based framework, so understanding Python is essential for building web applications with a Django. So let's understand a next tool, that is Django. So Django is a high-level open source web framework for building web application using Python programming language. So it was designed to make it easier, faster, and to build robust, secure web applications. Django follows the model view template pattern, which separates the application logic, user interface, and data. So next is our PostgreSQL. So PostgreSQL is a powerful open source object relational database management, and it is used to store the large amount of data and complex queries. So in for this lab, we are using the database as a PostgreSQL. So we will understand with the help of flowchart diagram how this project is actually run. So let's understand. So this diagram visually represents the architecture and workflow of a Django web application deployed on AWS EC2 instance with a PostgreSQL as the database backend. So first understand user. User represents the end user interacting with the application via internet. So internet is the communication medium that connects the user with the AWS infrastructure. So AWS is AWS means Amazon Web Services. It is the cloud platform hosting application, particularly used for EC2, that is nothing but Elastic Compute Cloud. So EC2 instance is a virtual server in a AWS cloud. So where Django application is deployed. So this instance handles the request and it serves the responses. So in this, we use the Django framework. So Django framework is a Python based web framework running on the EC2 instance. It includes the backend logic, routing, and templates required for this application. So the diagram highlight key component is the Django framework. In that we have created the forms.py, views.py, and urls.py. So form.py is handles for creation and validation. Views.py is contains the logic to handle the http request and it return the responses. And urls, it maps the urls for their corresponding views. And signup.html, it is a front end template for a sign up page. Lastly, we using the database. So in that we use the PostgreSQL database. It is used to store the application data such as user information, signups, and more. So Django communicate with this database to retrieve the user data and update it also. So summary is the user sends the request through accessing the sign up page over the internet. The request reaches to the AWS EC2 instance where the Django application is hosted. After that, Django processes the request through the URLs, views, and forms and rendering the appropriate template, that is nothing but signup.html we have created, and interacting with the database, that is PostgreSQL. So overall, this application is structured with a MVC, that is nothing but model view controller design. And PostgreSQL is used as the persistence data storage. So next. So Python Django business application. In a real time, this lab will used in a small scale businesses like e-commerce and retail, content management systems, hotel booking and reservation. After that, event management in and ticket management systems, customer relationship management, like a small scale for a sign up, for storing the users' data. For small scale businesses, we are using this type of project. So let's get started by setting up Python and virtual environment, and this will keep our dependency organized and separated from global environment. After creating EC2 instance, I get the public IPv4 address and pasting that into Putty terminal. To perform this lab, you have to paste into the Putty terminal and access the Putty terminal to perform this lab. So our first command is sudo apt update. So it will update the package list for your system and ensuring you have the latest informations on available packages. So perform sudo apt update. Now our second command is we have to install our first tool, that is nothing but Python 3. So for that we have used pip. Pip is the package manager for a Python. It allows you to install, update and manage the Python libraries and dependencies. So we have to use pip to install Python. Sudo apt install Python, and package manager is pip. Now, the next command is sudo apt install python 3 VNV. VNV is the package on Ubuntu. It is a package for virtual environment. So this command is used to install Python virtual environment, and it enables you to create isolated Python environments to manage dependencies separately for a different project. For this lab, we have to create virtual environment. So to creating the environment, we have the following command. I will copy this command and paste into terminal. Now it is next command is so it is used to install Python 3 VNV package that provides the VNV module in Python 3. So this module allows you to create the virtual environment which helps to manage the dependencies for a Python project. And after that we install the project, a virtual environment. Now we have to navigate to the this virtual environment. I provide the name as my env. You will provide as per your preference. Now we have to activate our virtual environment. For that, we have to use source and our virtual environment name and bean. Sometimes we use scripts, and for lastly, we have to use activate. So here you can see the my-env is activated. Our virtual environment name is my-env. Now we have to, our second step is we have to install Django. So for that we have to use pip. It is a package manager for Python, and Django is also Python based web framework. For that we have to use pip. Now we install our Django. Now we have to install pre-inbuilt binary packages. So if you don't need to compile from a source, you can install the pre-built binary packages. So this library is required to connect Django with your PostgreSQL. So for that we have the command called pip install pre-inbuilt binary package. Now it is installed. Now let's create a new Django project and configure PostgreSQL as a database. So for that we have to use Django admin start project, and I give the name as a my project to my Django application. Now navigate to our project, that is cd my project. Now we will install PostgreSQL for connecting Django with the PostgreSQL. For that I use a command sudo apt install PostgreSQL. Now we install the PostgreSQL. Now check the status of PostgreSQL is active or not. For that, we use the sudo status PostgreSQL. So it's showing active, means our PostgreSQL is now active and running. And now we have to create a PostgreSQL database and user. And for that, we have to log in into the PostgreSQL. To log in into the PostgreSQL interactive terminal, we have to use the default PostgreSQL super user, that is nothing but Postgres. Using this Postgres, we have to log in into the PostgreSQL terminal. For that, I use this command. Now we will log in into the PostgreSQL terminal. Now we will create our database with the name my database. For that, we have to use create. It is a keyword, and we have to provide a database and as a name my database. You will give as per your preference. And every command in a PostgreSQL is end with a semicolon. So ensure that you have given that. So our database is created. Here the create database message is displayed. Now we will create our user. I provide the username as a my user and password as a my password. So user is keyword and here create is also keyword and password. So my password is here in single quote and end with a semicolon. So ensure that you have given the semicolon at the end. So our user is created. Now we have to give the privileges, means we have to grant the some permissions to our user to access our database, to access our Django applications, and to create access and update for data. So for that we have to provide some privileges on a database and to our user. For that we have to use keyword called grant. So all privileges for a database, my database is provided through my user. So permission is granted. So here the message is given grant. Now we have to connect to our database. For that we have to use /c and provide our database name. So here now the message is displayed. You are now connected to the database, my database, and user is here the Postgres is a default super user is used. Now from default Postgres to my user, we have to convert. So for that, I have the command called alter user, my user with a super user. So we convert our my user with a super user. For that, we have to, for any modification, we use alter keyword in our database and end with a semicolon. So our my user is getting converted into super user. So alter role is now here listed. Now for quit this from quitting to the PostgreSQL terminal, we have the command /q. So we come back from our PostgreSQL terminal. Now our all database permission as are completed and our database is also created and our users also get created. Now we have to configure our database settings for a Django app. So for that I use this command. So here it is open the settings. Now we have to ensure and replace the default SQLite database setting with the below setting that we just created now. So go into the database setting. So here look, here is the default setting is SQLite. So we have to change with the PostgreSQL. And we also have to change our database name, user and password. All information we have to change. So just we created our database as a my database, user as a my user, and password we have provided with a my password. So host is we have to provide our EC2 instance. We get that public IPv4 address. We provide here that IP address, and our default port is 55432. It is the default port for Python Django web application. So we have to provide this port. Now, next, we have to locate our allowed host setting and update it as follows. For that also we have to provide our public IPv4 address and localhost, as we are searching the URL from localhost and getting the sign up page. For that we have to provide here localhost and the port number, that is IPv4 address. So we will provide this. So I provided here my public IPv4 address. So now we have to provide it into allowed host as well. Here with a single code. And we also provide localhost. Now we have to exit from settings.py. For that we have to press Ctrl X to exit. Now we have to save our modify things. For that we have to press Y, and after that we have to enter to come back our putty terminal. So our changes are done. Now we will create our Django application for a sign up. For that, I provided the Django application name as an account, and I use this command to create the Django application. So this will create an account directory, and it will store everything related to user authentication. Now we have to tell to Django that we have created a new application in a setting. So for that we have to go into the settings.py, and we have to tell that we have created accounts directory. So we have to add this directory, that application name as account, and provide with the single quote and end with a comma. Now to exit, Control X, and to make the modified changes save, press the Y and enter. Now we have created our Django application, and for now creation is done. Now we have to develop our sign up page in a Django. For that we have to first navigate to our accounts directory. Then for that we have to use cd. Then we have to provide our directory name, that is nothing but accounts. Then first we will check that there is a forms.py file is present or not. For that we have to use ls command. So here forms.py file is not available. So for that we have to use touch to create the forms.py file. So I use touch. So it will created now. We will check using ls command. So here the forms.py is looking. So now we enter into the forms.py. So I use nano. So using nano, you have to enter, you have enter into the file, and you also update the things into that. For that I use the nano. So here we have to add the code for forms.py. So here, so our form Django. So here is the code for forms.py. So first line is from Django import forms. So this line imports the forms module from a Django, and this module provides all the necessary tools to define forms in a Django, such as field style, character field, email field, password field, and form validation feature. And our next line is form Django contribute auth models import user. So this import the user model from a Django built-in authentication system. So this model represents a user and stores the information like username, password, email, etc. So our next line is form Django contribute authentication forms import user creation form. So this imports the user creation form class. So user creation form is a class which is Django provided form. It is specifically used for creating new user accounts, and it already includes the field for username, password, and password too. Password one is for entering new password, and password two is for confirmation. So now our next line is class sign up form, use creation form. So this line defines a new class called sign up form. It inherits the user creation form by inheriting, and the sign up form automatically gets the functionality to handle user creation and including username and password confirmation. So email here and forms.email field required equal to true. So here we add an extra form field for the email address, and forms.email field is a predefined field type in a Django for email input. So this required equals to true argument make this field is mandatory the form submission. So we have to provide email. So because it is mandatory field in this form. Now we have the next line called class meta. So this is the beginning of our nested class meta within the sign-up form. So the meta class is used in a Django forms and models to configure certain properties or behavior for the form or model. Now we have the provided model equal to user. Inside the meta class, we specify that the sign-up form should be associated with the user model. So this means that when the form is submitted, it will create or update our user object in the database. For that, we have provided here model equal to user, and our fields are username, email, password one for entering new password, and password two for the confirmation. Now we will copy this code and paste in your forms.py. So control A, paste into forms.py. From exiting this forms.py, use control X, then press Y and enter. Now, after adding the code in forms.py, we have to create a sign up view. So in this step, we will create the view in a Django that handles the sign up process. This view will handle form submission, validation, and user creation. So we will first go into the nano.views.py. Here we will see already the views.py file is present. So for that to entering into the views.py, we use nano and file name is views. dot py. Now here we have to paste our code. So here the code. First line is from Django shortcut import render. So renders an HTML template with the context data, and redirect it redirects the user to different view or URL after a form submission or any action. So next line is from forms import sign up form, that already we created in a forms.py. So it imports the sign up form class from the forms.py file. This form is used to handle the sign up logic. And next line is form Django contribute import messages. So import the messages framework, which allows us to display the success message, warning message, or error message after submission of your form. And next is def sign up request. Def for creating a new function in a Python or Django, we use the def keyword, and after that we provide the function name. For sign up, I use the function name as a sign up. So this is the view function for the sign up page. It handles both get and post request for the sign up form. If request method is post, means it checks the request is post, meaning that it form is submitted. Now our for after submitting our form, we will create an instance for a sign up form using the data submitted via post method. If our form is valid, we provided the condition that if form is valid, then form should get saved, and for that we use the save method. It checks that if the form is valid, it meets all the required criteria, that is valid email, password matching, then it saves the new user to the database and its form is valid. Then our we will get the message, success message, that account created successfully. Now in for this lab I created only sign up page. For that, after submission of your user information, we will get account created message and render into the same page. For that, I provided here signup.html to render on the same web page. Now if our method is not post, then it will goes into the else, and it will render our sign up form again. And for that I provided here URL as accounts, after that signup.html. If our method is not post, then in that case the else part will get executed. Now we will copy this code and paste into views.py. Now we will save this code. Now our step 9 is completed. Now we have to set up URLs for the sign up page. For accessing the using, we have accessed this sign up page using the URLs. For that we have to create the urls.py, because here we will see that there is a no urls.py file. For that we have to create touch using touch keyword manager. So touch. Here we created. Now we have to enter into the urls.py file. Now we have to add the code. So we will see that code. Here I provided the line as a form Django URLs import path. So this imports the path function from a Django URL module. So the path function is used to define URL patterns in a Django. So next line is from dot import views. So this import the views module from the current directory. Dot refers to the current directory. So the views module contains the logic that will be executed when URL pattern is matched. So like a sign up view. So next is URL patterns, path sign up. So URL patterns, this is the list that holds the URL patterns for the application. It tells the Django which views to call for a given URL path. So path is a function and sign up. This is the URL pattern. When a user visits domain.com sign up, this URL pattern will be matched. Then views dot sign up. This is the view that will call when the URL pattern is matched. In this case, the sign up function inside the views.py will be executed for this views dot sign up. The sign up function get executed for this line. Now we have to provide name equal to sign up. This assigns a name to the URL pattern, allowing you to reference it later in your templates or views using the name equal to sign up. For example, URL sign up in your templates. We will see in a signup.html. Now we will copy this code and paste into our urls.py file. Now we will save this. Now after adding the URLs in urls.py file, we have to add our URL into the main configuration file that is present in a my project. That is our my project. I provided the name as a Django application. So we will go into the my project and in that we have to open my project URLs, that is main configuration file. Here is that, and we have to change here after admin. So here we have to add include into the imports, comma space, and provide the here include and copy the path. So this imports the Django built-in admin interface module, which allows you to manage your project's model through the user-friendly interface. The admin site URLs will be used to access the admin site. Now our second is form Django URLs import path and include. So path is this is the function used to define the URL pattern for the Django application. Now include. So include is also the function that allows you to reference other URL configuration from a different apps. So it is used to include other URL configuration from apps like accounts into the main project URL. So URL patterns, this is the list that contains the URL patterns that we was previously provided into the urls.py file from accounts. Here the path admin sites.url. This defines the URL path for accessing the Django admin site. When you navigate to admin in your browser, the Django admin interface will appear here. Now our next path function is path accounts include accounts.urls. So this line includes the urls.py file from the accounts app. It tells Django to route any URL that starts with the accounts name to the urls.py file in the accounts app. For example, if there is a sign up path defined in accounts URL, so navigating accounts/sign up will use the URL pattern from the accounts.urls file. So this setup allows you to project to have a clear structure where URLs from the main project like admin interface are defined separately from those for the accounts app. So we will save this file, Control X S, and enter. Now we will go into the next step. Here we have to create our sign up template. For that, we will create an HTML template, that is sign up page. So the template defines how the form will be presented to the user. So it includes where the fields for username, email, and password. So for that, we have to create template folder in accounts directory. For that, I use mkdir. It creates the new directory or folder. Now it will create a template folder. Now in template we have to create the accounts folder to save our signup.html file. Now we will check the account folder is created or not. For that, I use the ls command. Here the accounts is shown. So our folder is created. Now we will create our signup.html file. For that, I use the touch. Now we will check it is present or not, or it is created successfully or not. For that, I use the ls command. So here the signup.html file is appear. Now we have to open signup.html and add the following HTML code. For that, I use the nano because I have to update the template. Here's our signup.html file is open. Now we will add our code. Here it is the basic HTML code for a sign up. So this is an HTML template for a sign up page in a Django web application. So form method it post, it represents or it creates a form where users enter their details. So method equal to post, it specifies that the form data will be submitted using post method, that is a secure for data submission. Here I provided CSRF token. So it is for a security. So this is a Django template tag. CSRF means cross-site request forgery protection. It prevents unauthorized form submission by generating a unique security token, and it renders the form details. Forms dot as P means this dynamically renders the form fields as a paragraph. The form fields are generated using Django forms.py. Now we have the submit button. So it creates a submit button. When user will click on the submit button, the forms data is sent to the server. Now we will copy this entire code and paste into our signup.html file, and we will save this code. Now our all files are getting created and codes also we have added into that files. Now we have to verify PostgreSQL configuration for troubleshooting. For that, we have to edit our postgresql.conf file to allow our remote connections. If you are connecting to remote PostgreSQL server, you need to ensure that it is configured to accept remote connections. To access that remote connections where PostgreSQL is running, this may require SSH access. So to edit this, we have to open the PostgreSQL configuration file, that is nothing but sudo nano, and this is the path we have to provide. And here I provided the version of PostgreSQL, that is the 16. Now we will open this file and we have to allow the listen addresses. Now we have to add a line to allow connection from API, any IP addresses. This allows any IP to connect using password authentication. If you want to restrict this further, you can replace 000 with your IP range. So 00 represents you have to allow connection from any IP address. So we will add this line to access to add or allow the connection from any IP address. So here I will paste. Now I will save this file. Now we have to go into the postgresql.conf file to allow the remote connection. For that, I have this command. Now we have to edit the listen addresses that have commented. We have to uncomment this line, and from localhost we have to provide a star to access any IP address and allow all connections. Now we have to press Ctrl X, S and enter. Now we will restart our PostgreSQL after configuration. So our next step is allow port 532 through firewall or security group. So 543 is the default port for Django. So ensure that the firewall on the remote server is not blocking the PostgreSQL default port, that is 5432. If you are using remote server, in that case you have to allow the PostgreSQL port through the firewall. And for that I have provided here the command, that is sudo ufw, and you have to allow this port, that is nothing but 5432 TCP. If you are using instance in a cloud, then allow your port in a cloud security group. So I will show you. You have to go into your EC2 instance. Then here we have to go into the security. Now our security group is here. Now click on that. Now here edit inbound rules. Here I have already created the rule. So here my PostgreSQL port is here. Now we have to change to anywhere IPv4. Then after that you have to save the changes. I have already added that rule. So for your future use, you have to create from here add rule, and then after that you have to save the changes. I have already added, so I am not adding this port. Now we have to next step is we have to test the connection with the PostgreSQL. So we will test whether Django project can successfully connect to our PostgreSQL database or not. For that, we have to use this command. Here we have to provide our EC2 instance IPv4 address. That is nothing public IPv4 address. I will copy from here. So we have to provide our user password that we have already created from database terminal, that is PostgreSQL terminal. So password is my password. Here our connection is connecting with our my database. So we have successfully connect the Django project with our PostgreSQL database. Now we will exit from it. For exiting, we have to press /Q. Now we have to apply the database migration. So in a Django, migrations are used to apply the changes to the database schema based on the models defined in your application. So whatever changes we have done, so we have to save that changes or apply the that changes. For that we use the database migration. So now we will use. So no changes detected. So our all the changes are applied. Now we will migrate. So migrate is used to apply the changes made in your models to the actual database. Here our all the changes are applied. Here all admin authentication, content type, sessions, services, all migrations are applied. Now we will create our super user in a Django. So it will create a super user account that gives the administrator privileges to access our Django admin panel. For that we have to create a super user. For that this is the command. Now we have to provide username. So I will provide my name. Now we have to provide the email address. Now we have to provide a password. Again, press the password for confirmation. Make sure that username should have the unique password. So I provided my name, so it will show that it is too similar. Now I will create. So our super user is created successfully. Now we will run our server. So here I provided the 000. So this makes the server accessible for any IP address on your machine. Now 800, it is the default port for a Django. So I provide here 8000, and 5432 is the default port for a PostgreSQL. I will run my server. So now we will access our Django admin panel by opening this URL. So we will log in into the admin panel using the super user credential that we have created here. Just so I will show you how to open. Here I open a browser. Now I will paste that URL, and we have to provide here our public IPv4 address, and 8000, that is the default port for a Django, and we have to access the admin panel. For that I provided here /admin. Now provide here public IPv4 address, copy here and paste. So here I enter the all details in a URL, and here we will see our Django administration admin panel for admin is displayed. Now we will log in with our credential, that using super user credential that we just created. That is my name, and you have to provide password. For that you have to remember that password. Now I will log in. So you will see that there is a Django administration home page will be displayed after login the admin. Now we will check the sign up page. For that we have the URL, that is nothing but HTTP public address 8000, and it will present in the accounts directory. So we will copy this URL and we will check that into new tab. I will paste. Here also we have to provide our public v4 IPv4 address. So here our sign up page is displayed. So enter details for a user. Now I added. Here our user is added. Now we will check into the home page. That is here the users are displayed. We have to click into the users. So our super user is uh, just that here displayed that Lakshmi. So I will create here super user. So here present staff status and my details are represented here. So we will see. So our password, we have to provide a unique password for this user. Now our user is added. Now we will check once again. So here Gauri is added now. So remember that you have to provide a unique password. That is we have to follow these instructions. Means your password must contain at least 8 characters, and your password can't start with your name, or it is not commonly used for numeric, entirely numeric. So remember that and follow the instruction for generating your password. Now we will see here that the users are displayed. For Gauri, we have added from a sign up page, and Lakshmi, it is a super user we have created from a Django application. Now we will see that these both users are present in a PostgreSQL database. For that, we have to log in into the PostgreSQL database terminal and see how the user's information is displayed. Now we will successfully register our one user. Now we will view that user in our PostgreSQL database. For that, we have to first log in into our PostgreSQL. For that, I use this command. Now we will log in into the PostgreSQL terminal. We will connect with our database, that is my database. Here, now we were connecting with our database, that is name is my database. Now we will see our users. Here, my user, it is a super user that we will provide after the granting all permission. We will convert from Postgres to my user. Now Postgres, it is the default super user, and my user, we just created that. Now we will see the users. For that, we have the command that is select star from auth user. So here you will see all the details, that is password is active, ID, and if user is a super user or not. So Lakshmi, it is a super user, and Gauri, it is represent as a false. So it is you created from a sign up page. So it is not super user. So for that, it represent false. So here displayed username and Gmail also it here displayed. So we will end here and we quit from our terminal. So we have successfully created a multi-tier app, web app with a Python, Django, and we also save our users detail in a PostgreSQL on a Ubuntu LTS machine. So thank you.